Hey guys, I'm Jay Randall and welcome back to my channel where I discuss wisdom for the modern man. Today guys, I got another video to react to. This one is brought to us by the YouTuber John Griffin. The title of the video, The Secret Power Women Have in Relationships. Now full disclosure, I've watched about 6 minutes of this video previously and I liked the topic. In this video he's going to be discussing sexless marriages. And I wanted to do this video because this is such a relevant topic for men in relationships. This is a issue millions of men are dealing with all over the globe, and it needs to be addressed. So without further ado, let's get right into the video.
Have you ever been watching a football game or a basketball game or maybe even a fight on TV? And you could clearly see that one player or one team was way better than the other one. It's like not even in the same class. You're wondering how they ended up in the same ring or on the same field together. And they're just beating the snot out of their opponent. I mean, it's almost humiliating. It's like you can't even watch. It's just so bad. You wonder how these people are ever even gonna look at their children again. I mean, it's just that bad. Well, that's kind of what it's like when a woman dates a man. Men don't realize it, but we are the inferior opponent in this metaphor. We are getting the snot beaten out of us on a regular basis. But because we're men, we really don't realize it. We don't fully grasp the gravity of the situation until that final bell rings and the referee holds up the hand of the champion, and we're that beaten, bloodied loser being held up by his manager with the gurney standing by and the ambulance in the parking lot ready to rush us off because we're getting our asses kicked. But don't worry, it's not about you. It's not a personal thing. It's not that you don't have the skills. It's because she has an unfair advantage. She has something that most young men especially don't have. If you're lucky, by the time you get to my age, you might learn it. But for the most part, young guys, yeah, you guys frequently are just in there pounding away with no chance of winning. We have an unfair disadvantage in this situation because we live our lives, like I said, from a subjective standpoint. Everything comes from the inside out, whether we know it or not. And subconsciously, we assume that other people are more like us than different. And if you're talking about other guys, you're probably right. But women are different. I know, big revelation there, right? Yeah, women are really different. And they have a talent which they develop into a skill that we don't have. And this talent gives them an unfair advantage in every aspect of a relationship. They can turn the sex switch on and off on command without any warning at all. They can just do it, just like bam, and it's on or off. Now, when you're young as a guy, your sex switch is stuck in the on position. I mean, yeah, you can't turn that shit off. That's just going all the time. You're just like one raging hard on, trying to find a place to, anyone, just anyone, under any conditions, you're just fine, I'll do it, I don't care. You don't need, no discernment there. You're not gonna be, filtering for anything. You're just going for it. Well, women, for whatever reason, and I'm sure there's lots of good evolutionary reasons, they are a lot better at managing that than we are. From the very early stages of life, they're just kind of stuck in the off position and they have to manually turn it on. Anyway. I've lost my train of thought. But they have to turn it on themselves. They have to want it. For some reason. So here's where this becomes a problem. I'll tell you a story about my personal relationship. So when I met my ex-wife, she was like a theater dancer. She worked like Broadway plays. She was hanging out with celebrities and billionaires. Very attractive woman. She had a lot going on. And when I met her, I was thinking, there is no way this woman is hooking up with me. I was bowled over. She was very attractive. But on our second date, yeah, we hooked up, and it was unreal. I was like, wow. I had taken it hook, line, and sinker. I was in. And from that point forward, we had a ton of sex. I think every time we got together, we were having sex, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. It was like something out of a dream. I mean, how does this happen? You know, it was just ridiculous. I was literally in nirvana.
Yep, and I want to pause it there because that's how it starts. That is the bait, all right? This marriage bait and switch, this sexless marriage thing has been going on since the beginning of marriages, all right? And it starts off like that. That's how she reels you in. Every guy, every man's story. When you go on Reddit, right, and you look at these videos, I want you to type in men in sexless marriages, and you'll see millions of stories from men, testimonials about their life, asking for advice. How do I fix this? I haven't had sex in 2-3 years. My wife doesn't look at me. She doesn't touch me. She never wants to have sex. Every single story starts off like this. 95%. We were having amazing sex in the beginning, sex every day. She was chasing me. She couldn't keep her hands off me. It always starts out that way. And a lot of guys just are blinded by that, and they think, well, this is how it's going to be forever. This is how it's going to be forever. Or even if it drops off a little bit, it'll still be there. No men ever fathom or ever even think to themselves that it would like whittle down to nothing. Like, no, guys just don't think that. They just assume. Never assume. But we'll get into that a little later on in the video. Let's continue.
So then we get married, and she wants to have a baby, and still lots of good sex. I mean, it was still pretty good. Not quite as frequent as before, but at least a few times a week. You know, it was still good. Baby comes. Sex stops. Like, almost immediately. Like, initially you kind of figure that she had, you know, some issues down there and all that, and I get it. But I think it was probably 6 or 7 months after my daughter was born before we had sex again. And then after that, it was never the same.
Boom. There you go. The kid. That's another one. Common trend. Telling you, go on Reddit, read these stories from men. That's the common trend. The kid happens, the first kid, sex drops off a cliff. Sex drops off a cliff. And it's just not a good situation. This is when men start realizing, oh, this thing that I, thought was always going to be, a given isn't. Okay, wow, that's the first time they start thinking about it. Let's continue.
I think that her experience as a mother was pretty bad. She didn't really enjoy that role so much because it's very demanding and you got to be very selfless in that role. But
hold up, but he just dropped that. Look, that's another thing, guys. Like, he just said that his wife didn't really enjoy the act of being a mother that much. This is why you really have to vet the woman you're with, because a lot of women nowadays are very selfish. Very selfish. They don't want to give up their careers to take care of the kids. I've heard women even say they don't even want to breastfeed because they'll mess up their breasts. They don't even want to breastfeed their own baby. I've heard women say they don't even want to have kids in general because they don't want to mess up their bodies. The body that's going to shrivel up and get old and unattractive anyway. And they don't even want to use that to bring a kid into the world. They rather use that to post pictures on Instagram. You have to know the woman you're marrying, bro, because some women, like he just mentioned, are very selfish. And the act of being a mother and being a wife is a selfless act. It is for the man and for the woman, the husband and the wife. But a lot of girls nowadays care more about their looks, care more about their bodies, care more about their careers than they do their family. So you need to vet very well and make sure you got a selfless woman who is going to sacrifice for the family in all the ways that are necessary. But let's keep going.
Yeah, the sex slowed down a lot. So she didn't want any more children. And I think she was just kind of patronizing me, you know, like just giving it to me once or twice a month. I think it went from a couple times a week to once a week, and then down to once every couple weeks, then down to once a month. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have the same experience. Let's look at some different examples of how this switch works. And I'm just gonna go from my experience here. First one I like to call curious copulation. This is when some girl you know, and you think she's cute, whatever, and just out of the blue, for no particular reason, she just wants to fuck you. You know what I mean? She just comes at you and just wants to do the deed. And you just are just like, well, afterwards you just ask, so what was that about? She says, oh, I was just curious. Like, what? Like, really? You can do that? You can do that. Just curiosity, huh? Like, I don't know. That's just crazy.
Yeah, it's typically younger chicks, you know, when they're going through their hoe phase that, you know, a lot of girls go through nowadays. I would say most girls go through. Yeah, they just see a guy, he's attractive, maybe he's a certain nationality, and they're just, you know, just curious. I just want to try that. I want to see what that's like. Maybe he's super tall. I want to see what that's like. Maybe he's a black guy and big athlete and, you know, the stereotype there. So I want to see what that's like. Maybe he's a white guy, Asian guy, whatever the case may be. Girls go through that experimental phase where they just see you fit a certain mold that looks interesting, and they're like, you know what? I want to give that a try. So that's true. That does happen in a certain phase in a modern woman's life, which is called the hoe phase. And if you did that, you want to avoid it at all costs.
Me, like, that's just a superpower. Like, if I got to have sex with every girl I was curious about, I'd be busy all day long. I'd never get anything done. I'd just be having sex all the time, just out of curiosity, just to see. Like, really, you can just do that. Cool. More power to you. Another time women will do this to you is during the dating process, where it's kind of like the first one when there's some curiosity involved, but really it's more like an audition. So you're dating a girl and she just suddenly comes on strong and you find yourself in the sack with her. And really what she's doing is she's just checking you out, make sure all the equipment is good, make sure that you're a good long-term prospect, that you can actually do the deed with a certain amount of decorum, act like a man, etc. And if you're good, if you pass the audition, well, then you're probably gonna get seconds and thirds. But if not, you may find that relationship ends shortly afterward. There's no emotion involved in this, by the way.
This is very true. This is why a lot of guys, they'll say that, hey, went on a date with a girl. It went really well. We were talking, we were vibing, that we were, on the same page. The chemistry was good. And then, we have sex on the first, second, third date, whatever the case may be. And all of a sudden, after the sex, the girl's interest just drops off a cliff. She stops responding very much. She doesn't reply to my texts on time. All of a sudden, it's very difficult to get her out on another date. And the thing is, yeah, the vibe was really good. You guys had an emotional connection, but when she tested you out in the bedroom, you failed. And I've talked to a lot of girls who've had this experience. It's like, I really liked the guy. We had a great connection, but he was trash in bed, or they say that he was too small, or they say that he just, he came too quick, or whatever the case may be. It happens. So a lot of times, guys, if you've noticed you had a really good connection with the girl, everything was going perfectly, quick response times, super interested in seeing you, and then sex happens and it drops off a cliff. Fortunately, the sex was probably really not up to her standards, and that's why she doesn't want to see you again. And she's just trying to, instead of telling you to your face, because women aren't very confrontational in that regard, she just kind of wants you to get the point and just kind of fall off naturally. But a lot of guys don't get the point, especially after sex, and they keep pursuing it like, like, what's going on? Everything was going great, and all of a sudden, well, now you know. That's why that happens. But on the flip side of that, if you just lay it down in the bedroom, and you just, you rock her world, then you'll notice that, boom, like, she wants you. Like, she needs to be in a relationship with you. And she's gonna even go even crazier. If you got her emotionally and you got her sexually, that, bro, you have her locked in. She's all yours at that point. But if she falls off, now you know why.
Just purely, on that curiosity spectrum. It's just a matter of just to see what you've got going for yourself. Post-marriage, that's when the sex really starts to dry up, and it becomes more of a manipulation at that point. Because when you start talking to your wife about why you guys aren't having sex anymore, she's gonna say, oh, I'm just so tired from taking out the trash and doing the dishes, and I just don't get a moment to myself. If somebody could just help me with some of these chores, that person might get some sex. And you're like, okay, I'll do it. What do I gotta do? Take out the trash, do the dishes? I am there. I'll mow the lawn, hell, I'll freaking paint the whole damn house. Let's do it. Suddenly you find yourself working for sex. You are paying for it in a way.
Yep, and I know I'm pausing it a lot, guys, but I gotta make these points. That's what we call transactional sex, negotiating sex. Bro, and I'm telling you, guys, go on Reddit and read these stories. You'll notice the trend. You'll notice the pattern. It's a very specific pattern, how it falls off. And this always comes up where the woman starts demanding that the guy, if you want sex, then you gotta take out the trash, then you gotta mow the lawn, then you gotta do XYZ, then you need to clean this, then you need to paint the garage, then, and if, maybe if you, put on some romantic music, light a candle, come home, give me a massage, then maybe I'd be in the mood for sex. Maybe if you did XYZ and told me I was pretty more often and took me out on more dates and all this stuff. Take me out on a nice dinner date, come home, light a candle, put on music, give me a massage, and still nothing. Guys, you can't negotiate this thing. You can't you can't negotiate this thing where I'll do chores and then I'll get sex. Guys, attraction it's physical. It's like you see it and you want it. There's part visual and it's part mental. Now the visual aspect is for both men and women, you need to keep yourself in good physical shape, right? You need to keep yourself in good physical shape. This is why any relationship that I've ever been in, I've told the girl straight up, look, you need to stay in shape. It's unacceptable for you to be fat. I tell her this straight up. I don't walk on eggshells. I don't beat around the bush. And I set the same standard for myself. You need to keep yourself physically attractive for your partner. Both of you guys need to do that. Have a vested interest in that. Because you could love someone all day long and, they treat you very well. They're a good mother or they're a good wife or a good husband. And they treat you well. They do everything they need to do and you love them. But when you look at them, because they're overweight, because they don't dress well, because they don't, maintain themselves, you can't help but not be attracted to them. It's like I can't force myself to look at an overweight chick who, doesn't dress well, doesn't look good, and just force myself to be attracted to her, no matter how much I love her as an individual. So you have to keep that on point. Dress well, go to the gym, stay in shape, because when you do that, you're gonna look better in your clothes, wear cologne, wear deodorant, get regular haircuts, groom yourself well, keep up your physical appearance. The second part is the mental aspect when it comes to that. And as a man, the mental part comes from, number one, being dominant, right? Leading your household or leading the relationship. Don't become a weak beta who's allowing her to just run circles around you. You put your foot down, you lead the relationship. So you being in the dominant position in the relationship is already going to put you in an attractive position. The second part of that is staying ambitious. A woman likes an ambitious man, a leader. That's part of being a leader, is taking on that ambitious role where you're always pursuing greatness. You're always pursuing better. All right, a lot of guys get lazy, they lounge on the couch, they play video games all day, they don't do anything, they don't go out, they don't play sports, they do nothing, they just come home, watch TV, play video games. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. You could definitely have that as an aspect of your life, but if the woman sees you not pursuing anything, not pursuing greatness, and that's all you got going on, then yeah, she's gonna lose attraction for you. And I've also read this, right, in threads where women admit to this, like, he just doesn't do anything. You'll read the female part of it where it's like, my husband keeps pestering me for sex, and it's like, and she explains why she isn't attracted to him. And a big part of why she says she's not attracted to him is that he doesn't do anything. He just comes home, he lounges on the couch, he drinks beer, he's not ambitious. He doesn't pursue anything. So I'm telling you, you need to maintain that. There's your physical attractiveness, there's your dominant position in the relationship, and then there's you being ambitious. If you have those three things in place, you can avoid this 95% of the time. If you have all three of those things in place and your girl still doesn't want to sleep with you, then that's her problem, and you need to investigate that and see what's really going on, because she might be cheating on you. She might be just have medical issues where her hormones are just off to where, and that's a natural thing that happens to women. So, you can go to the doctor, get those, hormones rebalanced, but you need to investigate that, because if you have all those three things in place and she still isn't attracted to you, then there's a really big problem. So take care of everything on your side so you can actually do the process of elimination and figure out if the problem is you or if the problem is her. Let's keep going.
Your wife has become like the pimp and the prostitute all in one. Like, she's calling the prices and doing the deed, and you are paying with your labor. Yes, that's exactly what's happened. And even that becomes more and more rare. Yeah, even after like doing all the work, you think, okay, well, I gotta become a better guy, so I'm gonna read some books about relationships. I'm gonna go to therapy. I'm gonna do all the good things that a good husband would do. And I'm gonna figure this shit out so that I can get a little from time to time. My honey will love me like she did before we got married. And we can start having sex 5 times a day again. That's never gonna happen. Doesn't matter what books you read, doesn't matter how many therapists you go to, it just doesn't matter. If you're at this stage in your relationship, I liken it to, at a hospital, when a patient is brain dead and they just kind of keep the machines running and the body is working, heart's pumping, lungs are breathing, but lights on, nobody's home. That's pretty much what's happened to your relationship. It looks like it's alive, but it's dead. It's long been dead. And there is nothing you can do to resuscitate that thing. I don't care how many chores you do, how many books you read, how many therapists you see, it's over. Now, there may be that 1 in 100, maybe it's 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000, where you can pull it all together and she'll snap back into it and she'll become that girl you fell in love with. But I've never actually seen that happen. I think it's sort of like, I don't know, I hate to use the term unicorn again. It's sort of like if the Cleveland Browns won the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, what? How did that happen? Anyway, sorry, Browns fans. But that's kind of where you are. And the thing about sex that we guys don't fully understand is that to us, it's more than just a physical act. It creates a closeness and an intimacy with a woman that you generally don't have. And that closeness and intimacy the woman doesn't understand builds trust.
It's true.
And once that trust is gone, because that intimacy is gone, the relationship is over. I mean, you guys can fake it from now on. You can pretend for the kids, but it's over. If she's not having sex with you anymore, your marriage ended the last time you guys had sex. And I think if women understood this, especially in a marital relationship, we would have a lot fewer divorces, because quite frankly, it's just not that big a deal to them. They literally turn the switch on and off. They have full control over it. and they decide. And they decide with their thoughts. They decide by making the decision about whether or not they are willing to give this gift to you on a regular basis.
This is very true, because that same woman who in your relationship wasn't giving you anything, right? Wasn't giving you any sex, was making you work for it and mow the lawn and do all this extra stuff, right? The second she gets out of a relationship, the second she gets out of a marriage, they go wild sexually. Bro, some of the easiest chicks to get, like to have sex with, is a woman that's just come out of a relationship, just broke up with her boyfriend, and a woman who's just gotten a divorce. They go on a sexual rampage. But why is that? Why is that? In the relationship, she just wasn't there. Non-existent sex drive. The second she gets out, she's wild, crazy, needs to screw everything that moves. It's the same thing with girls when it comes to the gym. This is why I don't tolerate a woman who's out of shape. Because that woman who makes all the excuses in a relationship as to why she can't get to the gym, why she can't lose weight, this, and that, all the excuses in the world. The second she gets out of a relationship, bro, she runs to the gym. Isn't it amazing how quickly women lose weight when they get out of a relationship? All of a sudden, the motivation's there. All of a sudden, the sex drive is there. And that's why a man shouldn't tolerate that. Now, I took some time to put some, accountability on the men in the beginning because, you have to, as a man, realize that you can play a part in why a woman doesn't want to have sex with you. Maybe you're unattractive, maybe you're overweight, maybe you're not ambitious, right? So I don't want to just put it all on the women, but I also don't want to put it all on the men, because trust me, guys, I hold women accountable for this, right? Because she knows darn well that if she told you that this was something that was going to happen, right? That at some point she was going to withdraw the sex from you and, you'd be dwindled down to once a week, once a month, once a year, non-existent. She knows she would never be able to lock you down in a relationship. Women know that sex is a huge part of why men even talk to women. It's like the number one reason is sexual access. The main reason you even get into a committed relationship is for exclusive sexual access. And of course, there's other reasons and companionship and all that stuff, but that's a high up on the list for every man who deals with a woman. So for them to just go non-existent anymore, or once a week, or once a month, or on his birthdays, maybe Valentine's Day, and then nothing for the rest of the year. Bro, that's completely unacceptable, and I don't think any man should stand for that. And that's why you need to have these conversations before you get into a relationship, right? You have to have these conversations before you get into a relationship and let her know that this is unacceptable. You need to tell her, look, I'm telling you right now, I will never be in a sexless relationship or a sexless marriage, whatever the case may be. And if that starts to go that route, you tell her what you're going to do. You tell her exactly what's going to happen should this occur. That way she knows this is unacceptable, you're acknowledging it before it even happens, and everybody's on the same page. A lot of guys get into relationships and they just assume, well, she's my wife and she loves me, right? So why would she do this to me? Bro, that is faulty logic, unfortunately, because it happens to millions of men. I would say it's the norm. It's definitely not the exception to the rule. It's the norm, right? But so I put that accountability on the women. They play that bait and switch. They play that game. But like I said, you as a man need to make sure that you are, not lacking on your part. I remember talking to a guy at work, and he was telling me how him and his wife, they don't have sex anymore. I haven't had sex in over a year. He's just so upset and just frustrated, and he's just venting to me. He's like, yeah, man, we don't have sex anymore. We're pretty much just roommates at this point. It's like, God, what does a guy got to do to get laid? You know what I mean? He's all upset. I'm just like, I'm looking at him, and I just want to hold up a mirror to him, right? I just want to hold up a mirror and just be like, sir, you look like a double-decker Big Mac with extra cheese. Like, I don't know how else to say this to you, bro. You look, he's fat, he's out of shape. He does, like, very much out of shape. Like, not even kind of chubby, little love handles. No, I mean, it's a big dude, sloppy looking, right? Doesn't hold his weight well. You can tell he doesn't need to have that much weight on his frame. Doesn't have the most attractive face by far. Personality's not the greatest. It's like, bro, it's like you're not even trying at this point. It's like she can't force it. You know? She can't force it. Just the same way you can't force it. You have to at least give her something to work with. Like, I don't even want to see you. You're not even good looking with your clothes on. I don't even like looking at you with your clothes on. Definitely nobody wants to see you with your clothes off. Like, both men and women have to take that into account. So if your husband doesn't want to sleep with you anymore, because there are women, you know, talking about that on Reddit, or if your wife doesn't want to sleep with you anymore, get the weight thing under control, guys, for both men and women. A lot of people are just too fat. But like I said, I still put women, because there's men who are in shape, who aren't overweight, who aren't sloppy, who aren't, you know, non-ambitious, who actually are ambitious, who pursue, you know, greatness in life, who are dominant in their households, and women still pull this on them. This is why I still put so much of this on the woman, because it's just a thing they do, and they think it's okay, and it's not, and you shouldn't tolerate it. But let's keep going.
But what they don't understand is the gift that you're giving to them in the form of your commitment. You give it every day, day in and day out. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It never stops. And all you're asking for is a little intimacy. Maybe 2 or 3 times a week would be great, but hell, even once a week would be acceptable. You know what I mean? It's like, how hard could it be? You know, with all these girls, all these women getting college degrees and stuff, I hope they figure this shit out, because it's really not rocket science. Never really understood how it was women didn't get this. It's so easy. So in my own marriage, the sex slowed down significantly after my first daughter was born. And we had intermittent sex. Sometimes it was just like for her to shut me up kind of sex, or I would have to trade, you know, for sex. Really kind of sick when you think about it. It was kind of funny sometimes. And it was actually the way my second daughter was conceived. It was in a moment of, I want to say anger, but it was like her just putting up with me. It's like, fine, let's do it, go. And like we went into the bedroom really quick. I think we're actually in the sitting room on the couch. And it was quick. It was not very romantic. It was perfunctory. It got the job done. Let's just say that. But yeah, 9 months later, I had a second daughter. And after that daughter was born, I got a vasectomy. And the promise from the vasectomy was, you get the vasectomy and we can have as much sex as you want. That was the promise. That was the word that I got. Yeah, that didn't materialize. That was not how that rolled out. I got the vasectomy, got the ice on my balls, the whole 9 yards. You know, but I resisted it for a long time. Don't get me wrong. I was not in line with that, but I'm glad I got it done, because now I don't have to worry about that stuff ever again. But
think about that, bro. Think about that. Going as far as to getting a vasectomy just to negotiate sex. Do this extreme thing, like eliminate your ability to have kids, and I'll give you sex. And a man in his desperation is willing to go that far just to get laid. That's how bad it is, bro. And this is why, if you think like you should get married to have sex, that's such a bad idea, because you will get so much more sex outside of marriage than in marriage. If you're a guy who knows what he's doing, you have the skills to get women, because once you gain the skill of the game and pick up and cold approach, and you know that, you have it under your belt, you're always going to have that under your belt for as long as you live. That skill, you always have that, and you'll always be able to use it to get multiple women. So it's like, if you think relationships and marriage is your is your solution to consistent sex, you're wrong. Unless you're a guy who structures his relationship in a certain way, But most guys, the way they go about relationships, they think it's their solution to sex, and they got it completely wrong, because it falls off so hard. I remember talking to a guy at work. I'll never forget this, bro. I'll never forget this. He came to work so happy. This man was, glowing. He was walking on air. So big smile. You could tell that something good happened. I don't know if he got a raise. I don't know if he got, some kind of deposit, some money in the bank. What happened? He came to work and he was like, man, I got lucky last night. I was like, what happened? What happened, bro? Did you win something? What happened? It's like, bro, I had money. I got lucky last night. My wife had sex with me in the shower. I got lucky. And I'm thinking to myself, that's the kind of terminology that single men use, young boys use in like middle school or high school that, managed to get sleep with a girl. They got lucky. Oh my God, I got lucky, bro. They have no game. They don't really know how to get women like that, but the girl just was so into them that they were able to get sex out of it. It's like, bro, I got lucky. How are you in a committed relationship? You're giving this woman your commitment. You're coming home. You're paying the bills. You're taking care of everything. And you're saying with a huge smile on your face, bro, I got lucky. I'll never forget that talk. And I just didn't have the heart. I would have now, but with how happy he was in that moment, I didn't have the heart to express what I was thinking. Because when he was talking to me, I was very much red-pilled at that point. So you see the world through a red-pilled lens. You hear certain things that stand out to you. And I remember hearing that. I'm just like, wow, look at this guy. He got lucky in his marriage because he got sex from his wife. Wow. And I vowed that day that it would never be me. I will never be the guy who's getting lucky to have sex in his marriage. I will be damned if that's me. But a lot of guys are in that position. He was so happy, bro. He got lucky. It's crazy.
Yeah, the sex was intermittent at best, and then it just sort of slowed down and slowed down and slowed down until about the last, I think it was about 3 years before we split, like in 2016. I remember on Valentine's Day in the morning, we had sex, and she said to me, I don't want to do that ever again. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And in those last few years, it was literally down to a couple times a year at best.
Damn.
Anyway, I knew at that time that sex was a game or a thing that happened in your head. It's like most everything else in life. It starts off in your head. And I knew that whatever she had in her head about me was not turning her on. She did not want to have sex.
Yeah, man, that's over. It's done deal. Can you imagine Valentine's Day? You go in there, and it's probably like one of the few times a year where she just all right, let me just put up with it and just sleep with this guy because it's Valentine's Day. I guess I owe it to him or whatever. You do the deed, and then what you hear out of her mouth is, I never want to do that again. Holy, bro, that is... Yeah, it's over. It's time to pack up, boys. It's that one's done. That is hard. That is a hard one to hear. A lot of guys go through this. It's painful.
And there was nothing that I could do to change that. We went to tons and tons of therapists and tried to reignite that flame, and there was nothing there. So just know that if your woman says, well, I'm just not feeling it, I'm just not turned on and all that stuff, a large percentage of the time, it's just bullshit. Ooh. They can turn it on and off at will. And if you're not getting it, it's probably because they're just not interested anymore.
Very true. It's very true.
So there are two times in your life when you're really going to be vulnerable to this whole sex switch thing. The first is when you're young, when your personal sex switch is stuck in the on position
Yep.
until you figure out how to turn it off. And the second is when you fall in love. And you need to be really cautious about that whole falling in love thing, because we can fool ourselves. You need to reserve that word and that emotion for someone that really deserves it. Just because someone's having sex with you doesn't mean you need to tell her you love her.
Facts.
You need to withhold that until you're so sure that you are willing to lay down your life for that person, not just now, but in 20 years or 30 years or 50 years or whatever. And you're willing to have babies with this person, and you're willing to change diapers and get up at 4 a.m. and 2 a.m., work your ass off, get stuck in a job that you hate, but you know you got to pay the mortgage and keep these kids, going to school, and you've got to pay for college, and you've got car payments to make and insurance payments to make, and you've got a 401k and the whole 9 yards. That's what love means.
Yep.
Just FYI.
Sacrifice.
It's not candlelit dinners and
that's what a lot of women get wrong, right? That's what a lot of women get wrong. They don't understand duty. Men understand duty. See everything he just listed off? The duty of a man? Even staying in a job you hate, doing this, paying the bills, doing all this for your family. That's duty, responsibility. That's how a man shows his love, right? A lot of women have lacked that nowadays. All they think about is me, my happiness, my happiness. Bro, I've seen my dad do things for our family that I know was difficult. I know he was going through a rough time. And I know it was tough working hours, like going from one job to the next, working crazy back-to-back shifts for the family, coming home absolutely exhausted, can't even keep himself up at the dinner table. And he did that for his family for many years to put us in a certain position. And men have that, and they sacrifice for their family in that way. And now, just hearing the me monsters that you hear on the internet or just around and dating, me, what I want, my happiness, what for me, what about me, what about me, what about what I want? It's like just no sense of like duty, no sense of sacrifice, no sense of selflessness. It's just so lacking in women today, and it's just sad.
sleepovers. No. It's a lot more complicated than that. So don't use that L word until you're ready to make that kind of commitment.
Don't use it.
That's my advice to you. So if you're wondering, how do you turn the sex switch off? How do you learn to do that? Well, you can use lots of techniques. I mean, I've heard of people, imagining, naked old ladies, or thinking about their college professor standing in front of the room naked, whatever. You can also just think about what I just said in that L word. If you're going to use the L word and all the responsibilities that come with it, if you go through that whole list of responsibilities of having the job that you hate and not being able to quit, paying for college education, getting up in the middle of the night, all the things that go along with having a family and kids, if you can have that thought and not lose your erection and not kill that sex switch once and for all, if you can have that thought, then you're too far gone, I'm afraid. You're done. You're on your way. Come back to my channel when you're getting a divorce. I'm sure it'll help.
All right, guys, that's the video. Really, really good advice, really good insight. I'm glad that he shared a lot with his personal life. And if you want more stories, there's plenty of men talking about their marriages, sexless marriages on the internet. Also, go to Reddit. There's really good breakdowns of the experiences of men where you guys can get this insight and realize where they went wrong, can notice the trends. That way, if you see it occurring, you can nip it in the bud. But men need to be aware of this, right? You need to be aware of the things that you need to do on your end to, prevent this from happening to the best of your, capabilities, which is, like I said, staying in shape, dressing well, grooming yourself well, smelling good. That is staying dominant in your relationship, leading it. Make sure you're in the leadership position, and also make sure you're staying ambitious. If you do those things, you have a pretty good chance of not falling into this trap. However, if you're doing all those things and you're still in that situation, then you need to take it to her directly. Don't beat around the bush. And if she isn't taking a dedicated interest and handling it with a level of seriousness, maybe it's her hormones are off, whatever the case may be, maybe she's going through some mental stuff, but if she isn't taking it seriously, I need to get this handled, I need to fix this, then unfortunately it's over. Unfortunately, I've not read, like he said, I haven't seen many men bounce back from this. I've read maybe 2 or 3 stories where they bounced back from this, where the man put his foot all the way down, and a lot of times it came after the man was like, okay, this isn't working for me, I'm leaving. I don't hate you, we're still good, we could be good friends, but I can't do this sexless, loveless thing. And the woman, out of fear of leaving him, kind of snaps back to reality and realizes what she's about to lose out on, and then kind of bounces back. But that rarely happens. Most of the time, they're just most of the time what I've read in these threads and what in these videos is the woman will be like, is that all you want? Is that all you want? All you want is sex? Is that the only thing you want? Is that the only thing you want in a relationship is sex? Oh my gosh, can you just stop asking for sex? I swear that's all you want. That they'll take that approach to dealing with the problem. And if you're getting that response from her, is that all you want? Basically shaming you for your natural desire as a man, which she knew you had, by the way, because like I said, they give you all that sex in the beginning to trap you. She knew you had that desire, and all of a sudden she just wants to take it away. And all of a sudden, is that all you want? If she takes that approach, unfortunately it's over. Most men don't bounce back from that. You gotta get out of there. You gotta get out of there. Because I promise you, once you get out of there, that sex drive's gonna come back for her real quick. So you shouldn't tolerate being on the wrong end of that situation. So that's my advice for you guys. If you got value from the video, please go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you to all the new subscribers that have come through. I'm getting quite a few of you guys. Stay tuned for more information. I got a lot of great content coming out real soon. Thank you guys, and until next time, take it easy.